Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. This is your place to get practical guidance for not only navigating with, but thriving with the cosmic tides. My name is Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub. I am here with your favorite weather woman, predictive astrologer, Ann Ortelee. And we are so happy to be here with all of you. Are you hearing that really loud airplane? Holy macanoli.
Noisy boy.
Oh, it's a helicopter.
Okay.
It's wow. Interesting. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. I am going to start off with a very, very, very exciting announcement about all of you all of our international friends, anybody outside of the United States and Canada, plus anybody who doesn't want to be receiving astrology in your pocket via text. You would rather get an email, or you'd also like to get an email. We have it available now. I promised you last week it would be available this week, and it is. So you can go to astrologyhub.com/pocket email. That's astrologyhub.com/pocket email, and check out Astrology in Your Pocket, and you have it delivered via email. So here's how it's going to work. At 6 a.m. GMT +1, you will receive an email from us that will have the audio for the day. So this is Ann's breakdown of the weather for the day and the intensity scale and the theme of the day, if there is one, plus things that you need to be aware of for your weather that day. And you'll receive a breakdown of all of the transits for that day, the most important transits for you to pay attention to, with Ann's guidance. And it's delivered via email. You'll get it every single day. You'll be able to look at it, tune into your day, just like everybody in the United States and Canada has been doing. I'm actually receiving both. So I'm getting the text and the email. And it's really amazing to get the email because you see all the transits for the day like listed out. And then via text, you're getting them in real time. So if you are in the United States and Canada and you think you'd want both, it's kind of a cool thing. So you can also check out astrologyhub.com/pocket email. And we're really excited to be offering that to all of you. So that's number one. And Jamie, if you could put that link up on the video, that'd be awesome too, so that people can find it easily. And then also the inner circle is open. So we only open the inner circle twice a year. This is our membership community where you get to learn from the masters of astrology week after week, month after month, and yes, week after week. But this is really for the students. So for those of you that are like, I love this astrology thing, I want to go deeper, I want access to mastery classes, I want to be in the community and learning all the time, the inner circle is the place for you. Anne has been a guide for us twice, at least 2 years. Yeah. Rick Levine has been a guide with us. We have amazing astrologers for the rest of the year. We're already lining up people for 2022. So it's an incredible membership. If you're a student and you want a consistent place to learn astrology with an amazing community, now's the time to jump in. So you can go to astrologyhub.com/inner circle 2021. That's astrologyhub.com/inner circle. I know. I was like, wait, I got to get this right. astrologyhub.com/inner circle 2021. Okay. That's it. So we're excited about both of those things. And I don't know if I could use the word excited about the week, but I know that it's a big week. And always with big weeks, we have lots of opportunity for growth. So tell us, what do we have on the intensity scale and what's the theme?
Well, it's intense. This is probably, if I had to look at the whole year, this week would be the biggest week. For a few reasons. One, we have the eclipse, which we know happens twice a year and they're big. And this particular eclipse is very juicy. It's on the North Node. It's at 19, so it squares the US Neptune, which is active. It also squares Neptune in the sky, which is active. And it also involves a Mercury retrograde, which is active. Mercury retrograde's right tucked in there with the sun and the moon. And it also has Venus out of bounds.
You said square Mercury retrograde?
Mercury retrograde is in there square to Neptune. So the sun and the moon and Mercury are all square Neptune. But Mercury is also retrograde, so he's bringing up stories. And then the moon is out of bounds, during the eclipse. So we know with any out of bounds planet, it can be really good, home run, or it can be line drive into your face. And we just had that baseball player a couple of weeks ago, right on his nose. Usually I go line drive into the stands, but this week I'm going to say line drive into your face because it's got an energy of, oh, wow, and it's coming at me. Venus is also out of bounds. And so she is very active because about love, family, emotions, money. Mars is at the very last degree of Cancer. So he is answering to that out of bounds moon. Venus in Cancer is answering to the out. So you're getting the idea it's all really out of bounds. Then Mars shifts into Leo and goes, da-da, I am here. I am not answering to the moon every day. I gotta be me. You know, I think of that song, I Gotta Be Me, as a Mars and Leo song. It's either that or Frank Sinatra singing My Way, you know. But it's more of a Leo as opposed to regrets I have a few. It's like, no, I gotta be me, you know. So play that song. You will have a lot of interactions with folks where they're going, I gotta be me, and I don't really care about what you think. And so that energy is pay attention when that's coming at you, because there's a Neptune square there where you may feel a little bit like you want to meddle, but you really need to stand back unless it's a situation where someone might be in danger. And in that case, meddle. So earlier today, I was talking to someone and their daughter had an accident over the weekend, and dove into a pool, you know, at night, hit her head, blood. Won't go to the doctor. And I'm like, you got to go to the doctor. And so I said, no, you're her mother. I know she's grown up, but, you know, in the car, go get her, take her to the hospital, because she doesn't want to go. And the aspects are really big for a number of reasons. But the mother I'm like, hey, it's your baby. In. If it's someone that's a grown adult that's making their own choices and they're being rational, then you don't do that. You kind of stand back and go, I'm not sure I agree with your choices, but I respect your right to make them. But I have some concerns, you know. Again, a dialogue, not necessarily heard because of the square to Neptune. Of course, in her case, it was a pool, so it was Neptune, right? Then right after that, we have the Uranus-Saturn square, number 2. So we have this eclipse with all this drama. We have the square to Neptune. People are bursting into tears and sobbing about old things. Think back to when you were 13. Think back to when you were 9. Think back in time to those ages, because those degrees are at. Think back to 21. 2021, because those degrees are very hot. So it's emotions from then. But the Uranus-Saturn square part 2, Saturn is retrograde revising. Uranus is saying, gotta change. And Saturn's like, So it's very intense. And those three are boom, boom, boom. Now, you know, and some people remember eclipses, you know, we've got a window where they run. So it might not hit on the eclipse, but we've got a loaded sky. Best way to say it. It's a loaded sky. And Mars gets out of Cancer and goes into Leo, where he's very dramatic. He's a little over the top. You know, he does a Sarah Bernhardt in a big death scene, you know, like, oh my God, I gotta die. And you want to kind of go, Mars, calm down. But also because Mars right now is at the very last degrees of Cancer, I was like to this mother, I don't care, get in the car, drive, go take care of your kid. You gotta, you know, so it's a very funky energy. And you're going to need to decide, do I want to step in or do I want to sit back and let it unfold? Remember, eclipses drive us to action. And sometimes we get driven to an action that, you know, okay, so maybe we are overreacting. Maybe you are fine, but I'm your mother. Other times it's, you know what, I'm completely past my bandwidth. I have no extra room. I can't do anything right now. I have to sit back, let you take your Mars and Leo and go do what you're going to do with it. and the Uranus, Saturn, and we're making choices. So if people are making choices to blow up their life or change it, you gotta respect it. And it's hard because Saturn is retrograde, so it's not. He's in the energy of change, but he rules Aquarius, but he really doesn't love Aquarius, because Aquarius says to Saturn, what you built doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to break it down now. And you go, well, it was important. And they're like, yeah, whatever, not important to me. And so that energy, when that comes at you, you want to kind of go, okay, not important to you. I hear you. I'm backing off. I'm not going to go in and fight. But other times you do need to fight. And so the hard part this week is going to be determining, when do I fight? When do I stand down? I would encourage, if it's a grown-up making a decision that you have no control over, back down. I would encourage, if you feel a responsibility, and remember, I don't mean it in a mean way, a lot of times people that work in astrology or work with or interested in this kind of stuff are helpers. So we like to step in and help. And we do, that's what we do. But we also want to be aware very much, this is very fated, FATED week, for really big decisions that people are going to make. And big reveals, because Mercury's retrograde. So he is telling all sorts of tales. And, you may hear things that, I didn't know about that. Right. But now we do. So now that you know that, what does that change? Now that you know that, what does that shift about your mind? And then the place to go, because it is so contentious, is to go towards the thing that you agree on and you love. Find that place where you agree to love. That will help you when it gets a little contentious, right? Because if you can stand in the love place, then people, that's something important to them, and it's important, it's important to you to preserve the relationship. Go to the place of love, and that will help calm the crazy. Not necessarily solve the crazy, but calm the crazy. I love you very much. I can't prevent you from doing what you have to do. I love you. I love you and I support you. At the same time, you're driving me crazy, so I'm coming and taking you to the hospital. It's like a weird energy. And so in each individual case, we have to sit, check in with ourselves, take a deep breath, recognize our emotions are up, right? Because that's why we're responding. And of course, if it's hysterical, it's historical. So it might be an old emotion, right? That's up. But then you have to think about, well, what is it you want? And with Mars and Leo, I got to be me. And so everybody's shifting as the reveal comes. And then as we go from new to full, finishing up eclipse season, we're releasing. And then we're going new to full. We're planting seeds and growing. So it's a hard, hard's the wrong word. It's choice-based week. And I know we're all trying to choose new lives and new paths as we come out of the pandemic. And sometimes choices feel more forced than others. So this is a week when we're going to feel a little forced. And so recognize a lot of your vulnerabilities are going to be up, because it's a very vulnerable, out of bounds moon, out of bounds Venus. The moon and Venus are both ruling what we love and what's important to us, that the things we really value. And then the energy is pop. It's an eclipse. It says pop this open. Is this staying or going? What are the memories? What are the memories of it? Wow. It's a hard one, but it's a good one because it's clarifying. But when you're going through it and you've got this tumultuous emotions, it can feel a little overwhelming. So.
Okay. So Anne, couple questions.
Yeah, fire away.
So you said this is a very fated moment, and people are making decisions. And those decisions, I'm guessing from what you're saying, have like long-term ripple effects or ramifications. And that's just adding to the intensity of the strain between people and, all the different viewpoints and ways of living life, right?
20 years, 40 years, 38 years, 29 years. Yeah, nothing like it. 21
Wow.
years. Yeah, big. Feels big. Feels bigger than, like if this happens, this is huge. It's like, right, it is.
Huh. And do you believe that we choose our charts?
Yes.
So you believe that we, at some point before we incarnate, we decide on the chart that we want to live, the experiences that we want to have, the people that we want to attract in. It's all somewhat fated, although we have decision points within that map. Yes?
We have a fate that's described by the chart. And then we have free will about how we operate within it. But there was a really prominent astrologer named Bob Solar, and he said 99.8% of people don't exercise free will.
Because they're just sort of acting on autopilot from past conditioning and things.
Yeah. I mean, he was a curmudgeonly astrologer. I just want to add that. But he was a really good one. And so, Jung said, what we don't act on becomes our fate. So I have I, as a Virgo, wanting to improve things, want to fix things and make them better, right? Which is fine. And then when I was a baby astrologer, I have a Venus-Saturn affliction in my chart, right? So I was in astrology class, and I had a Capricorn Aquarian teacher named John Marcasella, who's a brilliant astrologer here in New York. And, he was saying, when you get in a relationship with people, you will pull in people with the same aspects you have. So if you have a Venus-Saturn aspect, you'll pull in people with a Venus-Saturn aspect because you have to learn about that aspect in this lifetime. So I start to argue with him. And, because I can be argumentative.
What? No.
I can be argumentative. I mean, did you not know this about me?
I never noticed.
So anyway, I start to argue with him, and we're going back and forth. And then he goes, all right. Now he's a Leo rising. Very dramatic. He goes, all right. Anne's had a lot of therapy. So she won't pull in a Venus-Saturn person, but the rest of your clients will. And I sat back in my little chair. I actually was sitting I was one of the couch people, and sat back on the couch and went like this. But it's true. So, so there's an element, because your chart describes what you're supposed to work with. Everybody that comes into your life is a relationship described in your chart, right? It's described by your chart. So there's an element of fate there because you met them, and then you have a choice of what you want to do with them. So that's where consciousness comes. So let's say you have a Venus-Pluto aspect, tend towards married people. You like the ones that have a commitment, some kind of prior. I have a lot of Pluto people in my practice, and I go, okay, well, when you meet them, figure out what their Pluto is. They like their triangles, so figure it out. And one woman I talked to and said, dead wife, date widowers. And she's like, oh. All right. And she met a lovely widower, got married, lived happily ever after, because the dead wife was there. She was in the relationship, but she wasn't. So you can consciously work with it. And at this time, because there's so much changing, when people leave, new applicants arrive, and you go, oh, you are coming back in to replace this person who just left. Remember, nature abhors a vacuum. You know this with your garden. You pull it up and the weeds are growing the next day. Nature does not let stuff sit. It likes to fill it in. And so as people leave your life, you got a new applicant coming in, bringing that energy, because that's how it works. So, and then we hopefully get a little wiser and a little braver and a little bolder. So when people show up in my life, I look at their Saturn and I go, let me look at their Saturn. Let me see how my Venus is going to relate to them. And even though I've had a lot of therapy, I pull in a lot of Venus-Saturn people. What are you going to do? Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's the chart's description of what I'm supposed to work with in this lifetime.
Right. Well, and I'm asking, I'm hoping to sort of anchor us in a bigger perspective as we're all navigating these things in our lives, because there is an element, for me, at least what I've found has been helpful. There's an element of trust that each person is on their own path. and it is not mine to really dictate or decide what I think is best for everybody else. And so there's this, and to me, that is like ultimate respect as well. It's respecting each person in their choices, in their path, and the things that they're deciding to engage with. And sometimes you can see that they're deciding to engage with something that's going to be very painful. And yet that might be exactly what they need to do, on some level. So I get it. And I see what you're saying. There's a fine line, right? There's those times where you do need to speak up, because that's part of your path, is to learn to find your voice and to learn to instead of just sitting back and letting everything happen, to really engage more with life. And there's this, dance. And I think coming back to trusting yourself and your own guidance and your own, what you're feeling really compelled to do in all these different situations is great. And I've had a few situations in my life where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to step in, but I'm going to totally let go of the outcome. But I'm going to do what I know I need to do, which is to speak up. So I'm going to speak up. Yeah, I'm going to speak up, and then I'm going to let it go, because that's all I can do. I cannot dictate what people do. So it's hard.
I will add, universe works, right? Go Google Kelly Clarkson singing at the Kennedy Center Honors last night, the dance. Garth Brooks in the audience. I would have liked to miss the pain, but then I would have had to miss the dance. It's a beautiful rendition. She's singing it. It's an outdoor someplace, and Garth is crying. But it also is, it's a beautiful song about we engage. It gives us the dance, but sometimes there's hard with it. And to your point, this week is very much figuring out how we engage in the dance, because we're going to be asked. We're going to be offered opportunities. And sometimes we may say, I love you, but I can't engage in that dance with you right now. Other times we're like, I'm in. I can help. And it's very individual, and it could be these things I agree to, these things I can't do. Everybody is very bandwidth out. They're feeling their bandwidth is really being stretched. But it is, to your point, Amanda, how do we connect? What really is truly, and with Mars and Leo, we're all going to feel like I need to say what I need to say. And with Mercury retrograde, it may not be heard because of the Neptune square. But when Mercury comes back the third time, because he's retrograde right now, he's bringing up old stuff. And then you want to go, it's old, but it also is back again. And remember, we learn through the cycles. We have seasons. We have seasons in our life too. So we're in a season of change, but a season of sadness. So, watching the Facebooks, my kid got their first confirmation. My daughter just graduated from college. My friend, my cousin just turned, I guess, 50, maybe. I don't even know how old. Maybe he's 60. I don't know. Yeah, he's probably 60. And I'm like, I remember when he was like 8, and they put pictures of him from then. So it's such a time. There's something with that spring into summer that really marks. There's so many markers at this season of that old life is done. We're graduating to the summer, the new life. And this particular one is very big because it's so much about the choices we're going to make now that we're at that crossroads. So there's a huge crossroads in the sky, but there's also an eclipse making us go, look back, but go forward. Yeah.
So we have the eclipse, we have all this Neptune energy. So the square to Neptune, but then squared to US Neptune, square to Neptune in the sky, Mercury retrograde, square Neptune.
Yeah. The Neptune, the US one is opposite the US Neptune.
Oh, opposite the US.
Square to the nodes, and the nodes are square. The eclipse is square to the US Neptune. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the Saturn-Uranus square. So this is massive, massive energy. How long does this particular flavor last? This like choice point, does Uranus in there make it like kind of flash it like quick, or is this a dragged out energy? What,
Well,
what, what's your read on that?
this is when the mutable people get clear on what. Remember, we talked before the cardinal people shifted in February because they were clear they're going. The mutable people, this is when they decide. And then the fixed people get dragged kicking and screaming. I have a few people write to me and go, all right, so I don't have to change till December, right? I'm like, right, you're fixed. You don't
You're
have
good. Just chill out until then.
chill out. You don't. We're going to come getting you, and kind of like they call groups up. So this is when the Gemini, all the mutables, the Virgos, the Pisces, the Geminis, and the Sagittarius are all like, oh my God, I got to change things. So you guys are all up. Those planets in your chart, even if you're a fix and you got planets there, they're all getting activated. All the babies that were born in the 60s with that Uranus, Pluto, and Virgo, they're out of control right this week. And it's understanding that we change, and we don't all go at once, but we do get the transits. So this is the mutable people's time, because the eclipse is an immutable sign. We're seeing it clearly. We're not 100% sure we're ready to do it, but we get it. We go, okay, now what? Yeah, it's a hard week. But the Mars going into Leo is going to help a lot, because once he gets out of Cancer, where he hates being in Cancer, because every 2.5 days he's having a mood change. And I always think of Mars in Cancer. When I was younger, my dad had prostate cancer, and we're out for dinner in a Greek restaurant in Florida, and my stepmother starts to laugh. And I'm like, what are you laughing at? And my father's like, all red. And she goes, your father's having a hot flash. Because he did radiation, which affected his hormones, which, made him hot flash. And he was bright red. He goes, oh God, I hate these things, And I was like, so we're all having a hot flash. If you're old enough to have had one, you understand what's going on. But that Mars in Cancer with that flare of energy, and then he goes into Leo and he wants to take action. He also gets a little less wishy-washy, because remember, Mars in water takes the shape of the container, and now he's in fire, and he's like, this is my vision, my passion, I got to do this. So it's an interesting week, because his shift out of 2 months of being indecisive, now he is in Leo, I got to be me, until the end of July, when he goes into Virgo. And I'm always like, when Mars is in Leo, he's a little all about him, because Mars is in Leo, but it's a helpful thing, because it does help us get clear, because it's all about us. What actually do we want to do? Right? Mm-hmm. Our Mars is going to go, because it's in Leo, it answers to our sun, our natal sun, and it says, I have to, because the sun is our developmental path over life. You come in, the Vedic astrologers say your moon in your previous life, your moon was your sun in the previous life. That's why you're good at that, But now you're this sign, and you are going to shine in this way, right? And that's how you're supposed to shine in this lifetime. You're learning how to be your sun sign. So a lot of times, especially Libras will write, am I ever going to have a relationship? And I'm like, hey, your job in this lifetime is to learn how to have relationships. So you're not going to be perfect at it, but you're going to learn that. That's your job to learn. So don't be hard on yourself. I'm a Virgo. My job in this lifetime is to realize there's nothing perfect, but I can serve and work. My job is like, okay, what do you want to do for your work? Make sure you like your work. And, you're not going to do it perfectly. You're going to do the best you can. So when I get on myself about not being perfect, I'm like, well, I'm learning how to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And so the energy of the sun, when Mars goes into Leo, he makes our sun stand up and go, you know what? I'm supposed to do this. That's why people are going to feel more assertive about what they have to do for themselves. I got to be me. I got to do it my way. That's the energy for the next 2 months. So we're going to see a lot of assertion, but we're also going to see a lot of lower form. On the lower form is a little egotistical, where people are like, So I was on Facebook last night, and I was looking at this guy who's kind of an idiot from my perspective in the astrology community, and he posted something, and people were commenting, and I'm like, why am I even following this guy? I hate the shitty posts. Mm-hmm. So I pulled it up, and I thought, I don't want to delete them, but I just want to, they have a thing now where you mute them. you know, you just muted him. And I went, well, that felt good. Because I'm like, I always find everything he posts obnoxious, but I'm, you know, like, do I want to block him? No, I just want to mute him. And he's not a bad astrologer. There's a whole bunch that were born in the 1940, Rick Levine among them, and it wasn't Rick.
1949.
1949. That group of babies that are all born then, there's a clump of them that are big astrologers. And I could name them, but then I would name the person I muted. But I was like, mute. Because he always posts stuff that pisses me off, right? So mute. Now, I'm good with that, but it also, do I need to hear that right now? No. You know.
Okay, Anne, I'm getting some really...
One more thing I will add. Yeah. Because it is so intense, because there's so much Neptune, play music. Sing along to music, because when your thoughts start trashing you out, play the music. Because you can't think trashy thoughts when you're singing along to something. So play music and sing along, because that will then elevate, shift your mood because of the Neptune square. And I've been having a little obsession lately with Adam Levine. Apparently his North Node's on my son. So I've been playing his sugar video where he's running around and, you know, singing at weddings. It's like a happy video, you know, I'm like, yeah. And so, you know, play things that elevate your mood and sing with them, because then you can't trash talk yourself, because this is a big, big trash talking week.
Okay. So many good questions coming from the audience. I'd love to take a few. So this from Jazz, the question is, does the Neptune square bring truth, illumination, or more deception, illusion?
Absolutely no idea yet. We don't know.
It can go either way. When will we know? Is that like next year?
Go over it a third time, right? Yes. Okay. Go over it a third time.
When's the third time?
End of the month. End of the month.
The end of the month.
Yeah, I can look and see what it is. But yeah,
end of June.
Yeah. Well, remember, Mercury's retrograde, so he has to go direct.
Yeah.
And he goes direct he goes direct on the 22nd. And then he goes past his square to Neptune. He goes past his square to Neptune on July 6th.
Okay, so we don't know yet if we have more illumination or more deception or both. I mean, it could be both, right?
It could be both. You can be illuminated in this area and deceived in this area.
Right. Okay. Eileen.
The thing to think about with Neptune, remember, it's like a movie. You know, like you watch a scary movie and they're playing all these clips from that Quiet Place. And I love Emily John Krasinski, but I can't watch that movie. But I turn down the volume because the noise makes me, but I'll kind of watch, you know, because I do want it like that much, but I can't watch something like that. It just makes me crazy. So when you're in a movie and you're having the jump and the scream and it's not real, but it's real, right? That's what Neptune is. It's not real, but it's real. So we don't want to discount it, but we want to understand, and when the movie's over, but all the people that get reactive when someone's chewing food or whatever in that movie, you know, eating popcorn, and people are like, stop, we're all going to get killed here, you know, but they're in the movie. They're not going to get killed. The aliens haven't come, but they, you know, that energy. So that's the Neptune too. It's like, but it's not real.
Wow. Okay. Very confusing, very disorienting. I mean, yes.
Well, that's why it's so important to breathe and remember, this is just John Krasinski's trying to scare me by making Emily get attacked by an alien, you know. Right. And they agreed to do this, and I'm watching it, and Emily's not going to die. I've seen her talking on talk shows. I know she's still here, but that, right? Yeah.
Okay. This one from Eileen. Recently, there have been several planets out of bounds. So we have been talking about that a lot. Is this typical or rare?
It happens in the Gemini Cancer time and the Sag Capricorn time, because it's when the planets are up at the top of the Tropic of Cancer. If you look at your globe, you'll see a Tropic of Cancer above the equator and a Tropic of Capricorn below. And so when the sun is there, the planet, or when the planets are there. So like in my case, I have a Virgo, but my Mars is in Capricorn and it's out of bounds because it's down in Capricorn. So very often it's it's Sagittarian or Capricorn planets, Cancer or Gemini planets. So we're in Gemini time now. So there's been a lot of them out of bounds. Yes.
Okay. And then Judy is asking about financial aspects with Venus's position. So how does all this apply to personal and non-personal financial aspects with Venus's position?
Well, we're hearing it in the culture where they're talking about them paying ransom with Bitcoin because it can't be traced, right? And we have all these I was listening to Meet the Press earlier today, and they can't trace the payments because Venus is out of bounds because Bitcoin's is out of bounds, right? So it does tend to make people take financial risks that they maybe should evaluate. Also, you can get some unexpected bills that you didn't know you had, So remember when I talked about doing my closing and hitting those 2 cars in the subway parking lot, right? Well, I broke the headlight and I dented the bumper and I got a claim and I went back and I didn't have coverage and I thought I'd signed up for coverage. So we went back and forth. So I just sent a little payment for $1,400 to pay for because I'm like, it's a light. And one of my friends goes, and no, they have to replace the whole front of the car. I'm like, what?
I know.
She goes, that sounds reasonable for me. I think that's about right when you describe what you did. And I didn't know I broke, so that was my little, okay, got to send out a little payment. So I did. So you can get unexpected bills, which I got from Avis. And I was kind of like, well, I did hit the truck and I don't have insurance because it felt like a big amount, but I didn't double check. I'd only signed for liability, even though I normally always take every piece. But I know I was a little crazy because I was buying a condo. So I'm like, all right, what the hell? Just pay.
Well, and wouldn't you say that applies to right now? Because with all this Neptune energy, you might not totally know. It might not be completely clear yet. So making huge, but it sounds like we have to make decisions. So we're making huge decisions.
I went to pick up drugs at the drugstore and the guy goes to me, we stopped carrying your insurance in January. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And so my $10 drugs were $150. I'm like, hell with it, just give him the money and go find, I'm like, real? He goes, well, you have to call it into CBS now. You can't come to Dwayne Reed anymore. I'm like, all right, well, you just lost my business. I'm fine. But I was like, you stopped taking the insurance? Like, did you, any note gets, not that I saw, but it was like, I get a 90-day supply. So, whatever. Yeah.
So forced into changes, forced into decisions, maybe not totally clear.
Unexpected Venus, so be careful about Venus issues because she is out of bounds.
Okay.
And Mercury's retrograde. And Venus is answering to the moon out of bounds. So, there's a lot of emotional, financial stuff up and running. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, you didn't give us a scale and you didn't give us a theme yet. So with all that said, I don't know if I need to even ask you about the scale.
Well, it's going to be variable because some people may be like, hey, it's not happening to me, it's everybody else. You got to watch what you got at 1920 because that's where the hot spots are. And 13, if you got planets at 13, you got planets at 1920, those are the hot spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what about the theme?
Theme is extravaganza. Good or bad?
Extravaganza sounds fun.
It can be a bad extravaganza.
Oh, no.
It can be an extravaganza of a septic tank. It's got you're having your septic tank's having an extravaganza, and you got to go, that doesn't sound fun, but it's going to be extravagant. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Where it's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more over the top, a little more like, what are you doing? Wow. But it is forward-looking, forward motion. So it's an extravaganza of what?
Okay.
I think that it's expansion. It's extra big. Extra big, whatever it is.
Okay. I don't think I really grasped I don't think I grasped the timeline. Like how long this energy is going to be active for us.
Well, the Uranus Saturn is not finished until December. So that's the underlying theme of the whole year is
Right.
what are the structures in your life? How are they changing?
Mhm.
Are you in charge of changing them? Are other people changing them? But you're having that. And it echoes back to fall of 99, spring of 2000, winter of 2000, when you put down roots. So that's a 45-year cycle. So that's a big one. Then there's a 19-year cycle, which is eclipses. So this takes us back to 2002 and 1983 and 1964, energetically, right? Because that where the eclipse was in June of those years. So that's a 19-year cycle. And then a 20-year cycle, because all the changes we're making this year are seeding a new 20-year cycle that started somewhere in our chart at 0 Aquarius. So back in December of 2020, we weren't talking about pocket astrologer, but it's in my 12th house, right? And so I'm like, all right, I guess I'm supposed to talk to groups more. Well, I'm already talking to groups, but now we're doing this little audio thing, right? Which wasn't conceived of, but here we are at the square making it bigger, right? Because it's setting up, for me, the next 20 years of work, which is out of more one-on-one Taurus into more Aquarian group. So I'm like, all right, I just say yes to anything that looks groupy because I'm supposed to work in groups. And of course, Aquarian, Jupiter, Saturn, and Aquarius, it's, Astrology Hub. What is it? It's a group of astrologers. It's Saturn, Jupiter. It's like, I'm good with it. We're working together. But that energy of change, and you're changing it, and I'm like, what are we doing? And I just want you to know, Amanda, right before we came on, goes, just plant the seed, Ann. And I'm like, oh, Amanda.
That's how we do it.
But that's how Amanda does it, and I know that. I've been around her long enough. Just plant the seed, Ann. And I kind of went, okay, got it. Because I'm like, all right, my job is to suit up and show up. And that we all have to look at our own lives and go, okay, we gotta figure out how we're going to do this, because that's the energy of the week. So it's big cycles: 20 years, 19 years, 45 years, 13 years. But this is the decision point where we're making decisions about things. And what the beauty of astrologer is, you're going to say, oh yeah, what'd you do in 2021? And they go, well, I did all these. You see how that led to something? And you're like, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a huge week. We have eclipse. We have the eclipse square to Neptune. We have a bunch of out-of-bound planets. We have Saturn-Uranus square that we're gearing up for on the 14th. It's a loaded sky, you say.
And Mars going into Leo.
And Mars going into Leo, adding to the drama.
Planet of war.
Yes. Oh.
Bursting into flames,
Ooh. Okay.
But last week, of course, we had the Mars-Pluto opposition, which brought up stuff from last year and brought up stuff from last fall and brought up stuff from the COVID conjunction. So now we have Mars in Cancer opposite the Pluto in Capricorn, which just happened Saturday, but now we have to work with it until Mars gets into Libra down the road. So this is the opposition where we go, oh, how are we going to work with this argument, this fight? So that's kind of shading the incoming. You don't want to forget him, because that's a 2-year cycle that's pretty big. And we're only halfway through. We're only halfway through that Mars-Pluto conjunction back from March of 2020.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So this is a huge decision point, and you're going to have decisions potentially, or you may be watching this with other people, but do I step in or do I allow something to unfold? And there's going to be situations where it's not going to be like a blanket answer. Oh, I always step in or I always allow it to unfold. You're going to be making decisions based on the circumstances. Another way that you put it is it's, do I fight or do I back down? So this is another way to look at it. This is another huge week of big revelations. I mean, they keep coming. We're going to keep having them. Big reveals. And the question is, now that you know that whatever was revealed, what do you think about the situation now, and what do you want to do about it?
Right.
Okay. So I love this. You talked about finding a place where you agree and finding the place of love. Like find that place you can where you can come together. I'd love to give an example here. I woke up with a super Uranian idea. So my parents were supposed to come visit next week. And I started to feel very anxious about it because I have this cute little house that's perfect for me and my two girls. But you throw my parents in there, I'm working out of the space. It's gotten really hot in Hawaii. We only have one car. You can't rent cars anymore because they're out of cars. So I started to just go, oh my God, talk about bandwidth. Like I started to imagine my bandwidth just going, oh, this is not a good idea for anybody involved. So I woke up on Sunday morning, like trying to think of all the different things we could do. They could get a condo, but no, there's no condos. Like there's no options. Everything's booked out. So then the idea came, well, maybe we should go to them. Maybe we should just go to California. Let's cancel the trip and we go there instead of them coming here. They have a bigger house. They have a pool. I could see the whole family. And it was like, oh, yes, that is the most loving thing to do for everyone. So I called them. I was like, this is radical, total. They've had this thing planned since February. So it was very Uranian in that it was this like flash of insight. It was very eclipsey in that it was like this complete change, just like we're shifting everything around. But it was answer that question. What would be the most loving thing for everybody involved? It was like, we go there. So I think that for me was a very tangible experience of this energy. And it was a benign, it was not a big, there's a lot heavier things happening in all of our lives, but it was like, oh, wow, here's the astrology really happening in real time. So that question, yeah, what would be the most loving thing for everyone? And when I had that thought, it was this, I could like breathe again. And that's when I knew it was the right idea.
Right. That's how you know it's right. So I yesterday too, I do a group once a month and we were doing the group and we got into politics, which we were looking at the eclipse. We were looking at Donald Trump. We were looking at the U.S. chart because it's big in the U.S. chart. And it got a little contentious.
No.
Yes.
I'm shocked. How could that conversation get contentious?
It's kind of like gambling in Casablanca, right? So one of the people in the group who I adore, I consider him my astrological father. He got very frustrated with us and he left. And his wife stayed and we continued. And I thought, you know what? I love him. And I know that really, the politics just really made him upset. So I started asking after the grandchildren because I love his grandchildren and their grandchildren and I love them. And that was the place of love. So we started talking about the grandchildren and it was, an opportunity to kind of, we love each other. We love each other. That's this place that we love. And, their granddaughter had gotten confirmed and, she's a lovely, lovely child. She's a Virgo. She's a lovely child. And, but it was a place of love. And so it mended it. It was holding the space of love. Like, okay, let's get off the politics.
Yeah.
Which I can be just as argumentative as he is. And we both love each other, but it's not a good space for us to be in. And then I went, okay, let's go to the love space. Well, we had First Communion and, she was a star. And then she also had she had a dance thing, so it's finding the space where we love. And that's a place of coming together on it because we love it. And that's important. Yeah.
Totally. And if one of the strategies I already have in mind for the same exact potential situation that will happen when I'm home is I'm going to interview my parents and get their stories and like video them and learn about their, all those great stories that your parents tell. And then you like, I want to be able to share that. So I'm like, God, I love interviewing people and be with my parents. I may as well like chronicle some things, which is a great way to diverge from any of this like stuff that why we're just, it's butting heads against each other. And it's just, it's not love, it's not loving at this point. So that's where it's like, wherever that is in your life, where you have those situations. I love your example of going to the grandchildren. I'm going to do this thing with my parents to just be in that place of like, tell me about your past, like tell me stories. I want to know, and I want to like chronicle them for my kids and their kids and whoever. So okay, so have those kinds of ideas in your own life. Where can I meet this person in a loving place? All right. Look at any hysterical emotions that you have. Hysterical emotions are historical.
Yeah.
I love when you say that. That's such a great reminder. So if you feel hysterical, it is probably historical. So look into that for yourself. What is actually coming up? What are you actually responding to?
Yeah.
Okay, this is also a week where our vulnerabilities will be up. So there's a lot around what we love, what's important to us, and we're the most vulnerable around what we love and what's important to us, right? So just being soft with ourselves and that vulnerability, being soft with other people and their vulnerability. Would you say anything else to that?
I would say finding the loving space. And then the other piece is the one I didn't cover, which is helpful too. Uranus joins Ceres this week in Taurus. So it really wants to ground through ritual or diet or health changes, how you nurture yourself in this time. And that happens on the 10th. So it's kind of in the middle of this, like, okay, let me ground how I nurture myself or change how I nurture myself, because it's a great week with with all these energies out of bounds. It's a great week to make radical changes that you want to make in your life, meaning I want to create this new way of taking care of myself, because Ceres is in Taurus and Uranus is in Taurus on Ceres, and he says, we can change this. And Ceres goes, okay, let's change it. So in your case, you're going home. Is it the house you grew up in?
No, it's not. Okay. But the last time I was there was December of 2019, right at the new year. And they asked me, my dad actually, and so the whole family's there for dinner. I have 3 brothers and they have married kids. So it's a big family. My dad asked me about the astrology of 2020. And I remember just going, it's going to be big. There's going to be lots of changes. It's a really huge year. And I remember just like telling them what the astrologers had told me. And there was this one moment where my nephew and he was about 10. We looked at each other across the table and he went, and I went, it was like he got it. Like he could feel what I was saying underneath my words, which were like, and it's amazing that I'm going back. I remember even having the thought that night, like, I don't know if I'll ever be in this house again. Like whatever's happening in 2020 is so big that I don't know what the future is. So it feels pretty significant to be going back, even though it's not my childhood house. It's the same relative neighborhood, but yeah.
Because that's also an immersion, but it's also when you go back, Amanda, you reset your chart because you were born there. Right? So there's always a reset that happens when we go back to where we're born.
Yeah.
So we're burying my dad and my stepmother, they're in jars right now in Vegas, but we're burying them in July. And I haven't been to Rochester in a number of years. So I'm kind of looking forward to going back and being reset in my place of birth, because I know right after that I go into a bunch of big changes at the end of July. So it's really important, like, okay, I'm back where I was born. Reset. And that's important. A lot of people did go home this year and reset themselves because they were with their families or they were resetting. And so this is big for you. Yeah. And I love that your nephew went and you
his face. I'll never forget his face across the table. Like he was like, oh God, this is big, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm sure a lot of you make that face as we're speaking sometimes. Like, oh God, no, what?
But remember, we all incarnated to go through it together. That's why we're here on Astrology Hug. Yeah. We're here getting our little hug of the heavens, saying, hey, this is what's up in the week ahead. You guys can handle it. No problem. They're there. Just go rock. But
go rock it.
Go rock it on a bad day and then play rock and roll music because Mars is in Leo. It's not a waltz this week. It's the twist.
That's awesome.
So turn on chubby checkers and do the twist, Yeah.
Leslie and Vic want to know what you mean by reset our charts. Like, what do you mean by that?
When you move, like Amanda was born because one time I said LA and she went, no.
Bay Area.
I was born in the Bay Area. I'm like, okay, in the San Francisco, LA people have that kind of thing with, like, that's not from LA.
I went to school in Southern California too, so there's less.
But you were born in the Bay
I was
Area.
born in the Bay Area.
You're
Yes,
a Bay Area girl. You're not an LA girl.
right.
You were very clear about that. And I went, oh, she's very clear about that distinction. So when you go back to where you're born, your chart goes back to its natal position. So you reset the chart, kind of like Monopoly when you play and you go and you get $200. So it kind of settles your chart into your natal birth condition, which is like plugging your cell phone in and recharging your battery. It recharges your chart because you're in your natal, if you live somewhere other than where you were born. And it is important, at times to do that, and I do find people do that. They'll go home to take care of a relative. They'll go home to sell, the parents have passed and they're selling the house and they're in the house selling it. So it is like a reset of your chart. And it really is almost like plugging your cell phone in and getting a recharge of what your natal potential is, because all your planets are back. Remember, when you move, you get a different chart, right? So wherever you move on Earth, you get a different chart for the location. David Hasselhoff is the Baywatch guy, drunk on the floor with hamburgers in California, but in Germany, he's a famous singer. Johnny Depp did great when he was in France with Vanessa, but in LA, that was where he had the problems with his friend dying of the drug overdose. Then he got back there and he started doing a lot of drugs. It's not a great place for Johnny. I want to say, Johnny, go back to Europe. You're better there, because your chart is not happy here in his case. So it's really important when you reset, when you move, you get a different chart. So when you go back to where you were born, your chart kind of plugs in and goes, oh, reset. Or when your computer blows and you turn it on and everything boots and you're, oh, I've been rebooted.
Right. So like a reboot of your natal configuration, which is like pretty much your authentic, the operating system that you came in with. Like it's like your original operating system. So it's getting a recharge. And then, probably also the things that you've conditioned with over that time too, like an opportunity to relook at those things that you are bringing with you from that like natal configuration and a new fresh perspective on working with it, because you're a different person now, even though you're the same, you get what I mean. Okay. So pay attention to your bandwidth. So this is a time where like people's bandwidth is stretched. So for yourself and for the people in your life, if you see someone just sort of running around trying to accommodate or just way too overloaded, maybe even proactively say, hey, maybe you could take a rest, or maybe we don't have to do that thing that we had planned. You could just, take care of yourself today. So that for yourself and that for people in your life. This is a season of change. There's sadness with this, old life done, new life coming in, which is the whole, this whole time, but it's acute this week. The mutable people are making changes this week, and people are asking, every week we get the question, how do I know if I'm mutable, fixed, or
you look at the balance. Yeah, you look at the balance of your planets in those signs. So take your planets and categorize them. Are they fixed? Are they mutable? Are they cardinal? And you kind of rank. You count two for the lights, 2 for the ascendant, midheaven, and then 1 for everybody else.
So 2 for sun, moon, ascendant, and midheaven. 2 points. For the rest of them, you give 1 point. And all you have to do is Google cardinal, fixed, mutable for your placements. Go get a free chart, list it out on a piece of paper. This is what I would do. Like my Mars is in Leo. That is
fixed fire sign. Yeah.
Fixed fire sign. My sun is in Capricorn. That's a
cardinal earth sign. And
I'd give 2 points for cardinal earth.
2 points for cardinal, 2 points for earth, and then add it up.
Right. So then you add up all of them.
Earth, air, water column, and then fixed cardinal, fixed, mutable down the side, and kind of little hash marks in the boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then add them down and then add them across.
Right. And if you're relatively balanced, then you're just what?
You're changing all year.
You're changing all year. Okay.
Because the planets that are in those signs are going to shift at those times. So the cardinal planets changed in February. The mutables are changing now, and the fixed changes in December.
This would be a quick, fun little workshop if we ever wanted to just like dive into it. And I mean, I think it wouldn't take very long, but we could give you little handouts that would make it easy for you to do it all. So that's maybe planting a seed, Anne.
Yeah, I actually have those workshops in my computer, so that is not.
That's an easy one.
I teach it. I can send them to you like when we hang up.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's say the seed is already sprouted.
The seed is sprouting. It's like it's a fast breed. It's like, oh my God, that alfalfa sprout just sprouted. You know?
Amazing. Yes. All right. So if you do have the majority of your planets, if it's mutable, you will be making changes right around this time. You describe this energy as like a hot flash, like this, like, real intense hot flash kind of energy. Play music, sing. We got the Neptune thing going. So do your music thing again. This is good. Maybe make a playlist. Like make a playlist for this time of year.
So sing along, because when you're singing, you're not thinking.
Right.
So if you get into stinking, as they say, stinking thinking, put it on. So I was crying this morning to Kelly Clarkson singing to Garth. It's on the Yahoo front page. But just Google that, and then who makes you happy? Who makes you sad? I love the Beach Boys. Wish they all could be. And whatever, you want a California Girls. I got one right here. I should finish the song. Wish they all could be California girls from the Bay Area. But it's understanding that this energy of change is so big. No big.
You're so funny, Anne. Okay, so one more question on the reset thing. You really hit a button for people there.
Yeah.
If someone is never going to go back to their place of birth or hasn't been back to their place of birth, does that mean they've never reset? I mean, what would you say to that?
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes they're born there to get a natal configuration and they move them in like the first month of birth. And they're gone, yes, sometimes they don't reset.
Okay. All right.
That's
not a problem.
No, that's their path. It's just, when you go there, you reset. It's kind of like repotting your plant. You get new dirt. So if you don't want to go back, you don't have to go back. I'm, not going to make you. Not going to make it. Mars and Cancer. Now you're a little worried about it, though, right? Well, should I go back? How's your life going? Should I reset my life and go back and get some fresh dirt in my pot? It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Now the hot spots.
Yeah. Joe Biden always goes back to Scranton, right? He always resets himself. Okay.
So the hot spots in the chart are 13 degrees, 19 degrees, and 20 degrees. So if you have planets or placement,
any planet, any angle at those degrees, those planets are up for it.
Planet or angle at 13, 19, 20. What orb would you use for that? 2 degrees. So 11 degrees or anywhere between 11 and 15, anything between 17 and 22, 23. Yeah.
Yep.
And for those of you who are like, what are they talking about? What does that even mean? What you can do is print out a free chart. We have them, astrologyhub.com. Oh God, Jamie, I'm going to blow this. Astrologyhub.com.
Jamie's going to type it in the chat right now.
Or you can go to astro.com. I mean, there's lots of different places you can get your free chart. But what you do is you look at the degrees. So you'll see the little wheel, and then you'll look at what degrees each of your planets are. And then whatever ones, we can just start with the ones that have actual placements. You don't have to worry about angles yet.
Look at the little circle. Pick the number with the little circle after it, not the apostrophe.
Yeah.
That's
circle.
Yeah.
That's the degree. And if you have any at those numbers we just said, that means that part of your chart is going to be active. It's going to be pulsing or on fire. I don't know. On fire sounds pretty violent, but
Mars is going into Leo on fire. Yeah.
Okay. So it's active. So that part of your life and the house that it's in and all of that, it's going to be active. Okay. I'm going to be done with that. Join some workshops at some point. Okay. And you gave us the theme of extravaganza, meaning bigger, over the top, extra big.
Well, remember when they come in and they go, it's an extravaganza. Yeah. It's going to be bigger than you think.
Right.
Now, if it's the Riddler, you go, uh-oh. If it's a three-wing circus, you go, oh, this could be fun. If it's like a your favorite rock star, you're like, I'm going to the Bruce Springsteen concert. It's an extravaganza. Good, bad, and different. When it's a little over the top. Think of it that way.
It's over the top. Okay.
Over the top.
Well, Anne, thank you. That was amazing.
Busy week.
Busy week. All right, everybody. You have your weather forecast. You have your strategies. We talked about a lot of different things. Maybe write it down. Maybe make some sort of commitment to yourself for the week to do that nurturing and the self-care. Anne said we're going to have some energy around how we actually take care of ourselves. So maybe be proactive about it. Yeah. And knowing that it's going to be really intense, put some other, make sure that you're scheduling in time for yourself to just decompress and do nothing and be. And if you want to be getting those alerts in real time, if you're in the US and Canada, you can get them at astrologyhub.com/pocket. This is where you're going to get the text. You're going to get the daily audio. You're going to get this week that we just did broken down in real time, which is I don't know about you guys, but I can't hear it enough because we do it today and then I'll be going through my week and I'll totally forget a lot of things. And then you're reminding throughout the week. It's oh yeah, we talked about that. Oh yeah, Anne told the story about that at that time. So you'll get the daily audio and you'll get the text messages in real time as these transits are actually happening. And then if you are anywhere outside of the US or Canada, and or if you just want it via email, you just want it in your inbox that way.
It's funny, Commander. I said this to Jamie before you came on. I said, I had this client that wrote to me and goes, I can't get it on my phone. Tell her not just the United States or not just overseas, make it for the United States too. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not in charge, but I'll mention it, Yeah. So the United States can have the emails too. And hopefully that will make her very happy.
Yes, it's for you too. So go to astrologyhub.com/pocket email. Like I said, I like to get both because the email actually gives you the whole day ahead. So you can actually look at the transits.
You don't get 10 emails. You just
right. Yeah, exactly. So check it out. There's no contract. So if you want to try it and if it's not for you, you just cancel. No big deal. And it's only $4.99 plus tax. We made it really, really doable because we wanted to make it available to all of you. So,
and if you had cell phone problems, because I had a couple people with older cell phones who complained that I was going to make them upgrade. I'm like, you don't have to upgrade,
Oh,
you can sign up for the email now. So
yes. No need to upgrade if you don't want a quote unquote smartphone, which I'm really questioning. I'm like, how smart are we saying all these things? I don't know. It's really smart. But if you'd rather stay with your other technology that can't really do text that easy, then just go for the email. It's great. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. It's been so amazing to share this time with you as always. And thank you. I mean, you just show up for us in such a huge way. And it's just such a pleasure. And you make us
astrology work for you. Making astrology work for us all. It's the beauty of astrology. And all of your friends that go, there's something big this week? Go, yes, really big.
Yes. It's an extravaganza.
An extravaganza of excitement and change.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for being a part of our community. And thank you as always for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye,
Take care,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.